Chapter 7, The Comedy Gold Mobile. Joshua loved his used forest green Honda Accord with its beige leather interior and sunroof to take for pleasure cruises to Hermosa Beach when he used to live in his rent-controlled West Hollywood flat in his early 20s after college, wearing no shirt but shorts and flip-flops, singing out loud to Brian Wilson's Pet Sounds. I kissed her face when her face looked sad. Later, when Joshua lived in Sherman Oaks, he met Brian Wilson at a star-filled Starbucks off Laurel Canyon and told the hulking, hunched slab of surf rock genius in his dated Tommy Bahama shirt. Pet Sounds was the soundtrack to my life in Southern Cal, and he sputtered out of cliche land faster than he got stuck in it, as the prince of sad, happy, self-obsessive rock nodded his head, barely getting a huff of annoyed disgust out in the process. At this point, Joshua's Honda Accord sounded like termites rattled within his dashboard as he drove to open coffee shop open mics in Santa Monica, only to learn the comics comic Dave Attell had some help from his dad when he started out in stand-up from an open micer there, thereby making Joshua feel a tad better about his floundering foray into open mic stand-up comedy throughout Southern California without any imminent signs of joke writing himself out of this endless black hole of despair yet. Still, there were moments where Joshua exhibited flashes of comedic potential, and still he might. Once, when doing an open mic at the Rainbow Room on the Sunset Strip, infamous for being a drinking lair and under-the-table blowjob haven for hair metal sleaze shredder bands like Rat, Joshua scored his first discernible, room-enveloping laugh out loud from a Savor one-liner about how he loves black people because they don't discriminate against pussy. After his joke about Ron Artest being the new spokesperson for Colt 45 bombed after the fighting medley in Auburn Hills, in Detroit after the Queensbridge Weird Star went after a heckling fan in the audience while cups of beer flew in every conceivable direction possible. Joshua also did his first outside open mic in a garden patio area at some bar east of Highland and scored a huge laugh after making fun of the kid who performed prior, who was a musician. Joshua says, "Let's give it up for the kid from the Jeremy video," which catapulted him into the audience's hearts, making them root for his success, which was his experience every time the first words out of his mouth got a laugh, whether it was planned or not. He even did an inspired bit about how Jews treat God like a booty call, who only call God whenever they're in the mood to pray, while acting out a phone call with God on stage. Also, once Joshua ran into the actor who played Schillinger in Oz on HBO at Fatburger on Ventura Boulevard and got him laughing with a couple of these old school gems. "I'm so broke. My Hebrew name is under judicial review. I can't even stare at an actress on Melrose without being fined for insufficient funds." At the same time, Joshua also had less fond memories, scrounging the back of his disheveled, alignment-maligned Honda Accord for loose change to eat cracked pepper turkey cutlets, Atkins style, but only out of poor desperation rather than intentional stomach leaning. In that same Honda Accord, Joshua drove back to his apartment in Sherman Oaks after getting fired from his bartending job at a fancy French restaurant in West Hollywood, with an in-house baby grand pianist always present, on Christmas Eve, only to feel liberated after taking a couple of shrooms with his old roommate Jay, having the time of his life filling up a tree in some random park in the valley, before the cop lights shone from the distance, immediately darkening Joshua's at peace with the world moment in a terror-inserting moment-minute. One time, when Joshua was living in Sherman Oaks, as the crystal meth was still working the way out of his system, which he confused for high-octane cocaine prior, acting like a coked-out Tony the Tiger, saying, "This shit is great," he actually had a dream, which he remembered, highlighting his two big-time loves so far, Katie in the Cape and Summer in Hermosa, and how he met his lucky number 3 on the island of Manhattan, which turned out to be his Anna, nicknamed Snuggle Up a Shaft, in his set once at the Broadway Comedy Club, which his old-school high school buds at the same time laughed at long time, unlike everyone else in attendance. And Joshua never got into writing sample Curb Your Enthusiasm spec scripts or stand-up comedy for fame, money, and new tight push selection galore. His vision was only to excel in the field of comedy, so he never had to return to the thankless, time-sucking, non-builder, predatory existence of being a journeyman IT recruiter. To this day, Joshua will never forgive himself for spending the entire day of Yom Kippur during his first year of headhunting for an IT agency on Wilshire Boulevard in Westwood to blow off synagogue in favor of organizing his lead cards and pouring through a bunch of Los Angeles business journals for new names of IT directors to cold call the next day. When deep down, Joshua knew he should have driven his Honda Accord down to Malibu and gathered some stones before throwing them into the Pacific to cast off his acknowledged sins under the sun-splattered streams of oceanic, soul-penetrating blue. Whenever Joshua would have a meeting with one of his clients, like the IT director Ed Johnson from WellPoint Health Networks in Woodland Hills, or with Mike from Amgen, he'd make them laugh, and they commend him on his aggressiveness and get a kick out of his colorful, offbeat New York personality. Ed Johnson from WellPoint even arranged an informational sit-down with their corporate communications department, which was thrilling for the brief initial moment. He met a sun-spotted, chesty, tough-as-nails Valley pantsuit MILF who failed to give Joshua sustained stiffage a long time, though after she tried to intimidate him by questioning his ability to uphold Chicago AP guidelines, which left him cold to the bone, and turned him off completely to the idea of ever pursuing corporate communication writing for a living. So intimidate she did. Joshua's great Aunt Marion from the Lower East Side gave him college graduation money for that used Honda Accord. So it was never really one he could take prideful ownership in as his own, despite his trips to Vegas, taking in the lights from an hour away, with Sinatra blasting, filling his dreamy soul with pre-partying giddiness all the way, making every day out in the windy desert bloom feel like Valentine's Day. For a dirty white boy accustomed to freezing his balls off back east 24/7, only to bust out the tie-dye dead shirts when he attended Lake Forest College on the North Shore of Illinois once the 50-degree weather hit. Now, Joshua already fulfilled his dream of writing for TV for Viacom in his city, playing the role of hair metal historian. But he wasn't being paid for his funny man comedy writing chops yet. Now being a father of three, Joshua had a new vision of owning a Porsche Comedy Gold SUV, earned from the profits off his 2 self-published books and recently released comedy CD, Resist This, which never materialized. It was time to come up with a new plan of attack to will this new dream into reality, which required Joshua to do less Crazy Eddie and more commercial-friendly material. And the only way to do this was to suck up his ego, view his children as door openers, and get his kids involved on the comedy act on a much grander, serious scale. Because why should Michael Lohan exploit his kids for all they're worth and hog up all the fun in the process? As usual, Joshua would listen to his 9-year-old daughter, Beshert Agent Matilda, sing in Rose Cornbluth, and follow her commands as the closest thing next to the Word of God, especially when she said, "Daddy, I know how you can make money and get your comedy Goldmobile. Get a sponsor for your father-son dish review show, Better Than Booby, and start dressing up baby less bummish on camera, and you'll be made in the shade, Daddy, made in the shade." Joshua didn't call his precious daughter his Beshert agent for nothing. His Jewish mothering agent daughter was put on this earth to make sure her doodle dad didn't give up on his dream of turning his special brand of funny into money just yet.